I had a girlfriend in high school. I think I hooked up with her about 10th grade, and we went steady all through high school. Her name was Marcia Edwards, and her dad owned a sheet metal shop down by the swimming pool where we used to go swimming. And so in my senior year, he hired me to work in the shop. I think he was kind of putting a test of metal to me, you know, seeing if I could take it. And he put me on roofing jobs. In the hot summer, it was a real hot summer, 100 degrees. And we'd be up on the roof, hanging over the edge, hanging gutters. That was hard work. And then we'd do the furnace installation, and of course we would always work out of the basement and do the duct work and work up, you know, framing up houses. And that, of course, they were still building a lot of houses in the mid-50s when I was in high school. And we'd have to carry those, what's called a brake, which is a great big metal thing that sits on kind of like a sawhorse legs, and it's what you bend the metal with. It's got two big bars, and you pull it down and it forms an edge. I have to carry that down a step ladder into this basement. And somehow I hurt one of my discs or something in my back, and to this day I still have trouble with that disc. But he worked me hard, and he didn't want me to join the union because the sheet metal people were all unionized. When he knew the union steward was coming to his shop to do talk to the boys and do an inspection, I always had to hide under the workbench. I'd crawl under there, wait till the meeting was over. That was about my third job that I had as a summer job. My first job, I worked in a drugstore downtown Rochester and called Eagle Drug. And I was the stock boy. And I go down, they deliver boxes of supplies, whatever they carried, and I'd have to open the boxes and mark them and put them up on the shelves, and that was my job. And I saw a lot of things that a young boy had seen for the first time in his life by opening those boxes up. And then I know I was 16 years old, or maybe 15. I think I still was driving on a permit. Well, no, we could get a license at 15, so I was probably 15. Just had my license. He'd give me a Chevy car and tell me to go out St. Mary's and deliver drugs to the patients in the hospital. I guess the hospital didn't have their own pharmacies in those days. I mean, I'd walk up and down the halls of this hospital looking for this room number or that room number with this little white bag to deliver whatever it was in there to the hospital. Backing up a ways, back in my grade school days, my friend Bill Binger's dad was a doctor at the clinic. And every Sunday after church, he would take us boys. He had two older boys and me, maybe a couple other neighbor kids, and he'd take us down by St. Mary's to a soda shop, and he'd get us ice cream. And then after we'd had our ice cream, then we'd do rounds with him, his Sunday rounds in St. Mary's, and we'd go from room to room, and we'd just sit in the hall, of course. He took us into the operating rooms a couple times. He'd sit up in the galleries and look down at what's going on down there. But it was also open in those days. We'd walk into Bill's dad's clinic department, which I remember was on the 10th floor of the plumber building. And they had windows that would slide up and down in the plumber building, not air conditioned, again in those days. We'd open the windows and we'd make paper airplanes. We'd throw them out the window, watch them sail 10 stories down through town. My second summer job, when I was a junior in high school, was at the Zumbro cafeteria. So I was a busboy in the Zumbro cafeteria, and it was a cafeteria typical thing where you walked down the line and picked out your food, and then there was a cashier at the end of the line that rang your meal up, and then us busboys would help the people carry. Most of them were clinic patients. We'd help it carry to the table, and then after they left, we'd pick up the dishes, and there was what's called a dumb waiter, where you'd stick the trays in, and it went down to the basement where the dishwashing equipment was, and they were all washed and cleaned up and sent back up from there. The lady that worked as a cashier had worked there forever, and she had a again, a photographic memory like my mom, but she remembered everybody that had ever gone through that line, and she'd call them by name, and they'd say, I haven't been here for 7 years. Well, how are you, Mr. Smith? You know, nice to see you. How's your wife, Marilyn, or whatever. I mean, she knew people. Most of them were owned by the Kaler Corporation, as was this Umbro Hotel. They were connected by a subway system to the clinic, so you'd go down to basement level and walk into the clinic buildings in a subway, so you didn't have to go outside in the winter weather. And then the next band would be, there was some early motels close to downtown, and then out from there would be rooming houses, and a lot of the patients who couldn't afford to stay in a hotel stayed in these rooming houses, and they were very popular through the 50s and 60s, but really started fading after that, as you know, so many motels came in and stuff. Rochester was a one industry town, basically. There was a very small manufacturing plant, and everything else was service business.